On Valentine's Day, Patrick and Adeline decide to celebrate the date on a beautiful farm. While they are enjoying the moment, the young man hands his girlfriend a strawberry, but as soon as she chews it, she finds a wedding ring inside. Despite almost breaking her tooth, the young woman soon understands what her boyfriend is up to and lets him get on with it. Finally, Patrick gets down on one knee and asks her to marry him, and Adeline accepts. The romantic moment continues until Patrick receives a call on his cell phone from the photographer he hired to record everything. The guy was hiding on the other side of the road with his camera, but got distracted and asked the young man to repeat the proposal. Patrick is furious and warns the photographer not to make another mistake, otherwise he won't pay for the service. The old man continues taking pictures, but is interrupted by a mysterious guy who, just like that, sticks a machete through the camera lens, piercing the photographer's eye. At this point, the couple reenacts the proposal, but again, they receive a call from the photographer. This time it's Adeline who answers, but at the same moment she sees her boyfriend being shot in the head by a retractable arrow. The girl despairs and runs to the car, but the pursuer fires more arrows at her, forcing her to flee across the field. During her escape, she stumbles to the ground and the villain shoots her in the foot. Even wounded, Adeline runs towards a storage room and warns the security guard that someone is approaching. As she feared, the villain reappears and throws a knife, hitting the security guard in the eye. He then arms himself with a machete and searches for the young woman, who is hiding inside a tank. She struggles to keep quiet and, for a moment, the villain seems to have given up the search and leaves. Unfortunately for her, the tank was actually a press and the villain activated the mechanism. As a result, the two ends begin to approach each other and the young woman screams for help, but is brutally crushed by the machine. Afterwards, the villain observes the remains of his victim, wearing a mask with heart-shaped visors. Adeline's elimination soon becomes news in the media, but this is not an isolated event, as other similar eliminations have occurred at the hands of the villain known as Hard Eyes. Several cases are occurring in random cities across the United States, with all the victims being couples celebrating Valentine's Day. Meanwhile, in the city of Seattle, Allie, a designer at a jewelry store, is at the cafe with her best friend, Monica. The young woman is upset to see her ex-boyfriend in another relationship and everything gets worse when her boss calls her in for an urgent meeting. She then goes to pick up her order and runs into Jay, another designer who is in town on business. The two realize they have a lot in common and start chatting, until Allie drops her metal spoon on the floor. She hurries to pick it up and Jay does the same, but Allie gets up quickly and ends up banging her head against his nose. Allie is so embarrassed by the situation that she throws napkins at Jay to clean herself up and runs away with her friend. When they arrive at work, the two meet with their boss, Crystal, to talk about the company's new marketing campaign. With news of the criminal spreading, she orders her team to put together a successful commercial as quickly as possible. The first to present her idea is Allie, but her video shows couples in tragic situations in the middle of Valentine's Day. As expected, no one likes the campaign and Allie fears she'll be fired for this failure. Instead, her boss calls in her newest employee to help her with the campaign, who happens to be none other than Jay, the same designer that Allie almost broke her nose in the coffee shop. Far away, the pair of detectives, Hobbs and Shaw, show up to investigate Adeline's murder. Although there is no evidence of who was responsible, the detective finds a wedding ring in the warehouse and suspects that it was the work of Hard Eyes. Her suspicions are confirmed when she finds the photo taken by the photographer on the road, revealing the masked criminal. Back in Seattle, Jay meets Allie again and invites her to dinner, as he wants to get to know his new co-worker better. Allie accepts, but makes it clear that it will only be a business dinner, not a romantic date. When the evening arrives, Allie goes to the restaurant where she meets Jay and, while trying to maintain a professional attitude, doesn't hide her interest in him. Jay seems to feel the same way and tries to find out more about her, but Allie insists that they need to focus on the new campaign. Jay agrees and asks if Allie is suffering, as the video she made earlier seems to reflect a strong disillusionment with love. The young woman is forced to agree and says that she has lost faith in relationships due to bad experiences in the past and that she doesn't believe in true love. This pessimistic view leaves Jay surprised and even annoyed, but Allie remains defensive, saying that he shouldn't judge her for thinking differently. Seeing that the atmosphere has become very uncomfortable, Jay decides not to insist and leaves, saying that he will think of an idea for the new campaign. Feeling guilty, Allie runs up to him and unexpectedly kisses him on the sidewalk of the restaurant. By coincidence, Allie's ex-boyfriend and his partner, who had gone to the same restaurant to celebrate Valentine's Day, appear in front of them. Faced with this embarrassing situation, Allie and Jay rush to get a cab and return home. When she arrives at her apartment, she realizes that she left her keys at work and Jay offers to help. He then smashes the glass door with a punch, but in doing so he cuts his own hand. Allie then takes him to her apartment and asks him to wait in the bedroom while she goes to get the medical kit. Once there, she tends to Jay's wounds and confesses that, before becoming a designer, she had considered becoming a doctor, but couldn't stand the sight of blood. The two continue their conversation and Allie goes to put something away in the closet, but to her surprise, she finds hard eyes inside. The guy pushes her onto the bed with a kick and prepares his crossbow to shoot her. Luckily, he misses and Jay rushes to her defense, pushing the villain against the closet. Despite his best efforts, the guy headbutts him, pushes him against the wall and starts to hang him. Jay tries to get free, but the villain pulls out a knife and is about to eliminate him until Allie saves him by throwing a vase at the guy's head. Immediately afterwards, the two run to the door and Allie uses Jay's belt to hold the handle. Even so, the criminal shoves the knife through the door, forcing them both to leave the apartment and run to the cab, which is still waiting outside. Unfortunately for the taxi driver, Hard Eyes manages to get out of the apartment and eliminates him by shooting an arrow into his head. Allie then tells the villain that she and Jay aren't a couple, so there's no reason for him to pursue them. Even so, the villain continues to hunt them down and the two flee towards the Botanical Garden. When they get there, they try to hide in a corridor, but the criminal sneaks up and starts hanging Allie. Jay then grabs a pedestal and attacks Hard Eyes, but the guy knocks him to the ground with a kick. Jay is knocked unconscious, but Allie doesn't have time to help him and runs off towards the park, where she finds a disused carousel. She hides in the toy, but the criminal activates the carousel and the lights reveal the location of his victim. The criminal pulls out a knife and sets out to attack Allie, but she manages to dodge and pushes him away with a kick. After that, she flees through the park, with Hard Eyes on her tail, until a police car appears, forcing the villain to flee. Minutes later, Detectives Hobbs and Shaw show up to investigate the scene and Allie asks for Jay. Fortunately, he survived, but he was arrested as a suspect in the crime, as the police found him fallen, along with the Hard Eyes mask and crossbow. Allie tries to explain that it wasn't him who attacked her, but it's no use and Jay is taken to the police station. There, Detective Hobbs begins interrogating the suspect and shows him the wedding ring found at the place where Adeline perished, bearing the initials JS. These are the same initials as his name, J. Simmons, implying that the designer could be Hard Eyes or an accomplice of his. However, Jay says that the ring isn't his and, even if he were the villain, he wouldn't leave evidence like that at the crime scene. His sarcastic response makes Hobbs furious, but Detective Shaw calms him down and asks him to wait on the other side of the room. After that, she continues with the investigation and tells Jay to collaborate, as she has discovered more evidence that makes him the main suspect. She says she found out that Jay traveled to Boston and Philadelphia recently and, coincidentally or not, couples were eliminated in those cities. The interrogation continues as Allie arrives at the police station and talks to the policewoman at the counter, saying that Jay is innocent. Just then, an IT technician finishes working on the officer's computer and she goes to see if Shaw has finished interrogating the suspect. Allie is left alone waiting for her to return, but suddenly she hears a noise coming from another room in the police station. Fearing it might be Hard Eyes, she grabs a pole from the room to defend herself, but Detective Shaw appears and asks what she's doing. The young woman tries to justify herself, but then changes the subject and asks the detective to let Jay go, because he's not the villain. Shaw says she's not convinced of his innocence and asks why Hard Eyes attacked them, since they're not a couple. The young woman then replies that she kissed him on the sidewalk, moments before meeting her ex-boyfriend. She also says that the two pretended to be a couple to make him jealous and believes that this led the criminal to think that the two were together. Before he can give any more explanations, the lights in the police station mysteriously go out. Shaw rushes to see the suspect in the interrogation room and asks the policewoman to go to the circuit breaker and try to turn the power back on. The policewoman obeys, but first she goes to get a flashlight in the same room where Allie thought she heard a noise. However, the woman takes the flashlight and says there's no danger, but behind her, Hard Eyes appears, grabs the pole and pierces her in the back. Allie despairs and runs to get the lamp, but it goes out, leaving her and the villain in the dark. Despite this, the visors in his mask have night vision and Hard Eyes starts looking for the young woman, who attacks him by surprise using a barrel and knocks him to the ground. Allie then flees through the corridors and meets Detective Shaw who, on seeing the villain, fires her gun at him. Hobbs hears everything and sets off to help his partner, but he can't find her anywhere. The detective continues to look for her and, when he reaches the end of the corridor, he comes across Hard Eyes, who attacks him with his machete in a very painful area. Hobbs screams in pain, but before he can do anything, the criminal stabs him in the neck, making him another victim. At this point, Allie continues to run until she reaches a room where she sees through the glass that Jay is in the interrogation room. The young woman calls out to him and Jay asks her to get the keys to the handcuffs from Detective Hobbs. However, before Allie can help him, Hard Eyes appears in the room, armed with his machete. Jay pushes the chair against the criminal and tries to escape, but the handcuffs keep him trapped and soon, he will be the next to be eliminated by the villain. However, they both hear the sound of gunshots on the other side of the window and then the glass shatters. On the other side, Allie appears and uses the detective's pistol to shoot the villain, but her aim is so bad that she misses the target and Hard Eyes manages to escape. Despite this, she manages to get the keys to the handcuffs and the two of them run for the exit. Arriving on the highway, Allie sees a truck and calls for help, but the driver keeps speeding up and at the last second, Jay throws himself over the side with her, saving her life. The young woman is moved by the heroic gesture and the two are about to kiss, but Hard Eyes reappears and disrupts the moment. The couple then flee to a drive-in movie theater and hide inside a van. There, they see the criminal pass in front of their car, but luckily he doesn't see them and continues his hunt. The two go into hiding and Allie takes the opportunity to apologize for running away and leaving Jay alone with Hard Eyes in the Botanical Garden. What's more, she admits that, in truth, she was always looking for true love, because she saw this example in her parents. The two of them loved each other and were faithful to each other, but when her father perished, her mother couldn't cope with the loss and the family fell apart. Jay says that his case was the opposite and his parents fought all the time until they divorced. They were an example of relationships not working out, but this motivated him to prove them wrong and, since then, he has been looking for the right person to have a lasting relationship with. This moment brings the two even closer together, but they are soon interrupted by the couple inside the van. They are enjoying their romantic moment, oblivious to the two intruders, but Allie and Jay ask them not to make a sound, as this could attract Hard Eyes. The couple don't care and, as Allie feared, Hard Eyes appears, shoves a wrench down the guy's throat and does the same to his girlfriend. Seeing the couple eliminated, a woman nearby screams in despair and this attracts the attention of the people in the drive-in, who begin to flee the scene. A general commotion breaks out and Hard Eyes starts eliminating anyone who crosses his path. Jay then calls Allie to run away, only the young woman is willing to stop the villain before more people are eliminated. Although he doesn't agree with the idea, Jay decides to help her and the two set off to confront the villain. However, they need weapons and the only one they can find is the wrench stuck in the throat of the guy in the van. Still disgusted by the blood, Allie picks up the tool, just in time for the two to escape Hard Eyes, who tries to hit them with the machete. The pair run towards the screen of the drive-in movie theater and as Hard Eyes approaches, Jay tries to hit him with the wrench. In response, the villain disarms him and knocks him to the ground with a punch to the nose. Jay is bleeding and has no strength to fight, which only makes things easier for the criminal, who is preparing to deliver the final blow. But before he can, Allie grabs a cooler from one of the cars and strikes Hard Eyes on the head, which ends up dropping his machete. Despite the blow, he recovers quickly and begins to hang Allie, but Jay wastes no time and, picking up the knife, he plunges it into the villain, right through his body. Hard Eyes falls to the ground, already lifeless, but his blood splashes onto Allie, who begins to feel ill. As soon as she recovers, she removes the villain's mask and reveals his identity, but neither of them has any idea who he is. Hours later, the ambulance arrives on the scene to treat the wounded and leaves Jay and Allie safely in one of the vehicles. Now that the villain is gone for good, he invites the young woman to meet again, as he soon has to leave for another city. However, Allie thinks it's best to go back to her place and, at the same moment, Detective Shaw shows up, her arm wounded by Hard Eyes' attack. Now that the case has been solved, she offers Jay a ride back to his hotel and, before he leaves his phone number for Allie to call if she changes her mind. Afterwards, the young woman returns to her apartment and tries to forget the whole mess of that night, but she can't stop thinking about Jay. Seconds later, she receives a call from Monica, who has found out from the newspaper what happened and asks if her friend is all right. Allie says yes, but realizes that she has missed her chance for a lasting relationship. Monica then convinces her to go after Jay, because it's never too late to let go of the past and give love another chance. Feeling motivated, Allie goes to the airport to look for Jay and, when she sees a guy with his back turned who looks like him, she hugs him without hesitation. However, the woman soon realizes that it wasn't Jay and apologizes for the confusion. At the same time, Allie receives a call on her cell phone from an unknown number and when she answers, a mysterious voice tells her that Jay has been captured. If she wants him to survive, she must go alone to a chapel or she will never see him again. Allie obeys and goes to the chapel, where she finds Jay wounded and gagged in front of the altar. Behind him, Hard Eyes appears and, on removing his mask, reveals that he is the IT technician who was at the police station. His real name is David and not only him, but his wife also wore the criminal's costume, she being Detective Shaw. In addition to the couple, there was a third guy called Eli, who was a fanboy of the couple and helped them with their crimes. However, he became increasingly careless and ended up being eliminated by Allie and Jay in the drive-through movie theater. Faced with this revelation, the young woman asks why they were eliminating innocent couples, and Shaw replies that she did it because it was her and her husband's fetish. Finally, the couple revealed that their next target was Allie's ex-boyfriend and his partner, and that they intended to eliminate them when they left the restaurant. However, when they saw Allie and Jay kissing, the couple decided to change their target and have been stalking them ever since. With everything explained, Shaw shows Allie the revolver she has placed on the bench next to her and gives her one last choice. She can shoot Jay and Shaw and David will leave her alone, or she can shoot herself and save the man she loves. The young woman then picks up the gun and admits in front of everyone that she is in love with Jay. Because of this, she points the gun at her head and prepares to shoot, but in an unexpected move, she shoots Jay in the shoulder and the bullet passes through him, also hitting Shaw's stomach. Allie then pulls Jay away to escape, but the two are soon surrendered by the pair of villains, who intend to eliminate them right there. Shaw begins to beat Allie, while David drags Jay away and pulls out his machete to eliminate him once and for all. However, without him realizing it, Jay takes one of the retractable arrows and shoves it into David's face, piercing his eye and nose at the same time. The villain screams in pain and, on seeing what has happened, Shaw becomes enraged and breaks Allie's nose with a punch. She then grabs her husband's knife and intends to finish the young woman off. But Allie remembers the metal spoon she keeps in her pocket and thrusts it into the criminal's neck. In a last-ditch effort, Allie pushes Shaw towards the chapel's statue of Saint Valentine and presses her neck against her sword. With this blow, Shaw's head is removed by the blade, but despite all the blood, Allie is no longer bothered by it. The confrontation finally seems to be over and Allie runs to help Jay, but David reappears and starts crawling on the ground towards the couple. Jay then takes the crossbow and shoots the villain in the head, ending Hard Eyes forever. A year later, Allie and Jay are back at the jewelry company and celebrating the successful campaign they created together. At the same time, it is revealed that Allie is quitting her job and now wants to follow her dream of becoming a doctor. The couple then head to the drive-in for a romantic date, even though it's the place where they eliminated one of the villains dressed as Hard Eyes. The movie is about to start, but before it does, Jay has a proposal for Allie. Instead of a wedding ring, he shows her the key to his apartment, because he knows she's pessimistic about relationships, and invites her to move in with him. However, Allie proves to have overcome her fears and shows him a wedding ring. Without hesitation, Jay accepts the proposal, and now she can enjoy a romantic evening with her future fiancé. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.